Hello friends, I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I'm a painter, printmaker, installation and performance artist. I work with various mediums. The choice of medium depends upon the requirement of the concept. Some concepts require two-dimensional approach. Then I work with painting or in printmaking. Some concept require three-dimensional approach where it involves time and space. Then I do installation art. And some concepts require my body as a core element and other things like interaction and other sensory elements. Then I do performance art. My work over the years has evolved, and earlier it used to be very spontaneous and emotive response to the surrounding, and I used to do painting. Now gradually over the years it has evolved, and now I work my work goes into a lot of thinking process, both in terms of subject and also the materials I'm using it in my work. Sometimes I take a lot of time to prepare my work. Sometimes it takes 3 years, 3.5 years if I'm preparing for a solo show. For example, when I prepared for my solo show at Sumuka Art Gallery, it was almost 3.5 years work preparation, where I did a lot of paintings, 10 to 15 paintings, which were really huge in size, like 6 feet and 7 feet canvases, and 3 4 installations and one video work. So the first 6 months went on to do research on the subject, looking at various perspectives, like psychological and philosophical, astrological, and also seeing into scientific angle of it, and making a notes of the subject and things like that. And then the real process goes on, where I start doing preparatory drawings with small sketches, and what are the requirements in the painting, and how I'm going to present it, and also working out with the installation, making drawings and constructing the installation, making marks and doing the drawings and stuff like that. And then I prepare my work. So then the third process goes on, like if it is painting, then preparing a canvas with the required size, and then working on it. And I almost give one and a half month for around 6 to 7 feet canvas, and I used to do painting. And then if it is installation, then I also need to uh, go in search of materials which are core element in that installation, like for catharsis chamber, I used to go and find out those medicine bottles, and they were not the requirement of 1 or 2 bottles, but it was in thousands. I used 1800 medicine bottles and had to really hunt for that, and then compiling other elements like ash and my own hair sample, and artificial nails and stuffs like that. So it takes a lot of process in building up my work, and also making a choice of material which I'm going to use it in my work. And finally I came up with a huge body of work, and had my solo show. So and after that, gradually I came across a lot of individual projects where I used to give time, like 1.5 month, and I used to prepare my installation and performance work. So for me, the work process has evolved, and I do a lot of research and thinking process behind my work. In my work, I ponder around the question of existence, the existentiality, the philosophical quest of oneself. What is the ego? What is alter ego? And it is a process of distillation. It is a process of filtration. Uh, in a larger context, I can call it in kind of a laboratory of an alchemist, psychologist, scientist. So I take different roles to analyze this so-called self in different contexts, and then I try to analyze, filter, distill, and then extract the pure essence of it. And metaphorically it can be applied to any larger context like socio-political aspect of our society, or humanitarian issue, or the women's issue which I talk about in my work, or issues of migration. So I try to connect through myself to a more larger society, and then again it comes back to me. So it is a process where one tries to understand self and a society as a whole, and basically this pure self is a kind of an essence, a nucleus, and then there are different layers of circumferences which revolves around it. So the self is not only in context of like what to say not just at physical level, but it's also at spiritual level, it's also at psychological level, and it's also a space where which we don't know. So I'm trying to understand uh, society and self, and try to analyze this through process of alchemy, and alchemy helps me to understand the world much better. And just like how to define, like when you try to when you want to cultivate in a land, and when you want to make a land more fertile, you have to burn that land to make it more fertile land. Same way I try to kind of analyze myself, filter it, and then like kind of I have to burn your ego and then come out of it and make a newer life, and start with a new understanding of self, and then use kind of understand the whole other surrounding around you. So that's my core process, where mm, one makes ego to kind of uh, go into a role of subvert the role of ego, and then try to understand self and a society. There's the question of like self, but then now there was a different angle which was added to it. I came across study of alchemy, where they talk about body and nature, and four elements of nature, and then how one can extract philosophical self. And then a lot of research was done on this subject, and then I started using alchemy as an subject to express my feelings and emotions. So I did a set of body of work which was titled The Dichotomy Between Body and Mind, and which also talked about philosophical and psychological and astrological angle to it. And also there are a lot of elements from alchemy were brought in, like how one can filter it, and one goes into the vessel of filtration, where ego is burnt, and then you get a purified self and stuffs like that. So this really helped me, this period really helped me to introspect and look the subject into more wider perspective. So when I came back to India, uh, I started also thinking about alchemy, not only in Western context but also in Indian context. And then I came across Rasa Sahasra, which is also Indian, which talks about Indian alchemy. So Rasa Sahasra talks about filtering each metal elements, and making it to a purer form. So I started studying each metal individually, like if you're talking about iron, if you're talking about lead, if you're talking about silver, if you're talking about copper, if you're talking about tin, if you're talking about gold. So then there are stages of purification. It starts with lead and you end up with gold, which is a philosophical gold. So I started I did a series of painting on each metal, and talking in present terms, not in a like no subject in like which was in 16th century, but in a present context. Suppose if you're talking about a lead as in subject, then there are a lot of elements, like where is the lead found. Lead is found in paint, lead is found in criminals body, where it is found in criminals hair or teeth sample, and those elements started appearing in my work. So there were more broader perspective angle which I was also thinking about, not only at a chemical context or astrological connection, where I also juxtaposed with kind of an Degas painting where Saturn is eating in his own sun. So this element also is linked up to lead. So there are many layers in it, and it were juxtaposed. And then gradually after this show, I also started thinking, like, what is the purpose of understanding the pure philosophical gold? What happens if you extract this pure self, or what happens when you extract the pure essence of any element? Then what we can do about it? What is the purpose of it? Then I started also thinking about healing element, how we can use this pure essence to cure health problems, or how it can be used for healing purpose. And in one of the work, catharsis chamber, I used it as an healing mm, element, where the audience goes into this chamber where he's reading all this process of filtration, condensation and purification, and he understands that, and he also goes through that process. And then when he is out, he is totally out of this depression. That's what I imagined it, like, how it can work out. And so since 2011 now, the subject has become more wider for me. So I started involving element of healing and shamanistic practice in my work. And since 2011 I've been doing more of performances, and also thinking about subject matter, like elements which I'm going to use it in my work. I started using milk, salt, ash, many organic material which has a healing and medicinal property in it, and which indirectly or indirectly affects the audience. So also the elements of smell, or the smell in terms of scent, which has a healing effect. So the flower essence were used in my work and stuff like that. So and still I'm continuing with the same subject of exploring the elements from alchemy, and how it can be used in more broader context. So so now I'm also concentrating on, like, how it works for ecological farming, or how we can think about healing the whole earth, and kind of how, what are the other elements from nature, like animals and our coexistence, and stuff like that. Overall, when I talk about my themes, very broadly, I used to work on humanitarian issues, women's issues, socio-political issues, and self, who has to kind of understand self in a modern context, both in macro and micro terms. And then I used to work on the subject. So there are a lot of thought process which goes on behind the scene, and then I do my work.